In the last 1 year, the world we live in has undergone one of the most dramatic changes we've seen in modern times. A global pandemic has crippled life across the world. Businesses have suffered, and as a result, millions of hardworking, honest people have lost everything they've built. A climate change crisis is threatening our world. Political uncertainty is hitting many people and communities, and there is more coming. A new evolution of the financial systems through cryptocurrencies, the rise of a new economy with the fourth industrial revolution, and the permanent change to what we know as work. There's a talent crisis hitting multiple industries where the gap between older and newer generations is impacting productivity. The need for upskilling employees and talent is impacting future readiness. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, 3D printing, and hundreds of newer technologies are permanently going to change the way we live. The only question I have for you is, how ready are you? My name is Ian Khan, and I can help you understand the emerging futurescape for tomorrow. Attend one of my online courses, download free trend reports, or inquire about keynote speeches, workshops, and leadership masterclasses. Visit www.iankhan.com.
Hey friends, my name is Ian Khan, and I want to welcome you to this lunch session at the 2021 BOMA NXTEK conference. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of what we've gone through in the last couple of years, the pandemic and all of that. I know. We've had so much of those discussions that you don't want to hear about that. But I want to focus on tomorrow. I want to focus on the future and perhaps shed some light on what I'm seeing out there as a futurist, that things that impact the industry and things that can be useful to you and things that you can use. So first of all, to get started, a big thanks to BOMA Toronto for having me as a special guest. It's been an incredible pleasure working with BOMA International in the past, BOMA Canada, and now BOMA Toronto. So thank you for having me. And so with that, the next 45 minutes approximately are going to be full of many different things, technology, leadership, foresight, you name it. So hang tight, enjoy your lunch if you're eating your lunch, or grab a coffee and tune in. Let's start with where we are today. I always like doing a reality check. So this is where we are today. We are in the year 2021. The iPhone has gone through multiple iterations. And so as an object of popular culture, of pop culture, we have to measure things against the iPhone. It's about 14 years old, so it's not new. It's been quite a fair amount of time since the iPhone came out. The internet is about 3 or 4 decades old. So for those of us who are still trying to figure out where the any key is, it's time to catch up, and we've got to get going with understanding this whole confusing web of things. And artificial intelligence, we're hearing so much about it, almost 40 plus years old, and AI has been in the lab for many, many years, but now it's out in the mainstream and it's creating impact on people, communities, countries, and so on. For those of you who know me from before, you probably have seen this slide before, but this is the year 2005. This is the Holy See, the Vatican, and here people are just waiting for the announcement of the next Pope to be announced, right? And this is such an incredible moment for people of faith and the people who are there for religious reasons, because this is a very important aspect of the belief system. Now, that's great, right? But look at what people are doing. People are just standing there. They're emotional. Some people are taking pictures with their cameras. Some have handy cams out there and they're recording video because they want to preserve that memory. But some years later, the same thing happened again. And this time around, the world had changed. The world had changed because of technology. And in 7 years, what had happened was an incredible shift from the manual world to an automated world. And that's the world that we continue to live in, except things have now moved far beyond just that disruption that took place with the iPhone. Now, here are some of the things that are happening. It's very common now to use apps to do anything, from Uber Eats to ordering a taxi to booking your flights. An app is a necessary thing. An app is a must. And I hardly know anybody who doesn't use an app to do anything. So this is very normal for us to do right now. Drone deliveries are kind of in the experimentation phase. I think the only thing that's holding them back is regulation, FAA regulation, aircraft industry regulation, airport regulations, security regulations. But technically, drones are ready to fly, right? The technology has been proved. There been multiple tests by different companies, from Amazon to DHL to what have you. And they're also talking about drones as commercial taxis in some parts of the world. So we're already there, right? What about cryptocurrencies? Cryptocurrencies over the last 10, 12 years have really gained traction and gone from what Bitcoin was about 14 years ago to where it is right now. And it's been trading at unprecedented levels. And how does that change the world, and how does that impact what we do, right? Here's a quick quiz. The world has also changed as a result of all of this, and now we have things such as the world's largest hotel chain, but they don't own any hotels. And you know the answer to that. The answer is Airbnb. Airbnb is where people are staying, but they own no hotels. So how are consumption models changing, right? That's incredible. And what about this one? The taxi industry, right? It's being completely changed by a new model of working where companies now provide transportation, but they don't even own a single taxi. And you're right, yes, Uber is a great example of that. So Uber is a company that does that really, really well. And so what is happening to our world is my question to you, friends, right? We're here talking about the commercial real estate industry, but there's a huge world where we live every single day, where we live, breathe, our families are out there, we live in this world, and that is the world I'm talking about. Now, this world is going through something called the different industrial revolutions. Some people say that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So the first one, again, really quickly, the first one was the invention of the steam engine, which was great. We were able to replace human manpower with steam engine. Number two revolution was the invention of electric power. So now you were able to transmit power from one place to the other. Number three was automation systems, factory floors, rapid production, mass production, and that changed the world. And number four is the fourth industrial revolution that experts claim and say is happening right now. And today is the era of the fourth industrial revolution. Now, these revolutions are not some stipulated mandatory periods that we have to absolutely follow. In some parts of the world are possibly still in the third industrial revolution. Some have gone beyond the fourth industrial revolution. So there's no clear-cut demarcation, but this is a general consensus of thinkers, thought leaders out there in the world. Now, they also say that we're at the cusp of the fifth industrial revolution, and the fifth industrial revolution is an era where technology will really change how we do things. The era of the fifth industrial revolution will be where artificial intelligence will take over our jobs, our roles, and the things we do. But this is not here yet. There are still many, many chasms to cross. With all of that, I want to tell you just one thing that's predominant throughout this session is the fact that things are changing. The world we live in is undergoing an unprecedented change. Now, we're not strangers to change because we saw a lot of change happen to us in the last 2 years, right? Who knew 2 years ago that a pandemic will hit us globally and it'll just completely change the way everything works. It'll change the way we know things, we believe things, we observe things, and how we work and live and build and grow. And so change is just one of those things that is ever present, omnipresent, and you absolutely must respect it and accept the fact that change is a constant. So with that in mind, let's talk about change. Let's talk about more change. If you're familiar with revolutions and revolutionaries, you probably know Steve Jobs really well. You probably know Muhammad Ali really well. Maybe even Mother Teresa, right? All of these people, I feel, in my opinion at least, I think were revolutionaries. They did something big, stood for something, stood for change. But given the time and era today and how technology is changing everything, the idea of a revolutionary is changing as well. And the revolutionary of the future is actually not going to be a person, but it's going to be something like a smart toilet, something created through technology and something that changes our lives. Now, beyond what you see now, the smart toilet is, an incredible device that's soon coming to stores near us, an incredible design, incredible hardware. Incredible design, incredible hardware, a camera system. The best thing about it is an app, right? Because the app gets us to do everything. It does content analysis. It calls your physician if something is wrong. It'll take pictures, but most of all, it'll do something that we all are doing now. It'll track your friends, right? And that is hilarious because now that's the fun spin on technology and what it's doing to us and for us. But beyond any of that, this device really, when it comes to market, will change the way healthcare is delivered and how we access healthcare services. It'll eliminate a huge waiting time that we need to see our doctors, see our specialists, see our practitioners, and it's going to create a severe positive impact on everything related to the healthcare industry. So this is the world that is evolving outside of the four walls of your industry, of where you are. And this is potentially something that will be installed in one or more of the buildings that you're working on or your company or organization is part of as a developer, as a vendor, as a contractor, as an engineering firm. You will encounter smart toilets in your buildings. And that day, when you see it for the first time, you will remember my session today that you saw it here. So all these things are going to happen, guaranteed. Now here is a chart of the last 100 years of technology, 100 years of innovative things that have happened, right from the Charles Babbage's early analytical engine, the computer he invented, to going forward to the year 2045. Just now, in a slice of time towards the end of the chart, you see by the year 2015, the computing power of computers was greater or exceeded that of the thinking power of a mouse, which doesn't seem much, but they predict that by the year 2024, 25, the computing capacity of computers will exceed that of human beings, and that now is becoming a little bit more serious. They also say that if the trajectory of computing continues and the microprocessor development continues in the way it is happening right now, by the year 2045, maybe the computing capacity of all computers will exceed that of human beings. And that era is called the singularity. Whether AI will take over or we'll have some other kind of a matrix-like situation, nobody knows. But that is contingent on if that actually happens. But if you also see at the top, the time period it has taken for big innovative things to happen has decreased significantly over the years. It took 8,000 years for the agricultural revolution, but then it took a lesser and lesser amount of time for the invention of electricity, the first time we landed on the moon, invention of the World Wide Web, decoding of the human genome, and so on. And today we're generating more data than we have ever done before in a matter of minutes and matter of hours. And that's incredible. What about the buildings that you're part of right now and you're about to design and the projects of the future? How much data will they generate? How much information, how many bytes of data will they generate? And the example is also similar to the airline industry, where back in 20 or 50 years ago, an aircraft didn't really generate a lot of data. But right now, An aircraft flying transatlantic generates tens and hundreds of gigabytes of data purely from the systems that are running it, analyzing data, and all that data is generated from one flight. Tens and tens of gigabytes of data is generated per flight today. And so that's the state of affairs. The buildings that you're working on today are going to be data generating elements tomorrow. You'll hear a lot of that today in the different sessions, but that is a reality that's emerging because we're finding intelligent systems are great, technology is helping, efficiency can be created using data and connected systems and the Internet of Things and what have you. And so all of that is actually going to become reality in the next few years. And so with that, I really believe that we're possibly amidst a mega shift that humanity has ever seen, and predominantly because of technology. So far we've seen a lot, but right now is an era that is unprecedented in terms of change. My question to you is, where are you headed as an individual, as an organization, as an entity, as an association, as a government, as a city, as a municipality, as a vendor, as a contractor? Where is your future headed right now? Are you future ready? Do you think you are ready for disruption? Do you think you're ready to be disrupted? Do you think you're ready to disrupt? Because all of these things could be happening to you, your business, your career, your life in general, and it is happening right now. So there's no pretending about it. These things are impacting us right now. The question is, how ready are you to kind of ease into it and not suffer but gain? And in order to do that, the question is, what is the greatest skill set that you can build that will help you get into this future and step into this future without burning, without suffering, without feeling the pain of change? Remember, going back to what I started off with, it's change that we are fighting. That's the biggest thing we're fighting. We're not fighting artificial intelligence. We're not opposing the Internet of Things. We're not opposing any positive, great change, but it's literally change in general that is the opposing force, and we need to find a way to be part of it. So in order to do that, let me ask you a question. What is the greatest skill that you need right now to see a better tomorrow as an organization, right? We're here at the NXTEK event. We're talking about technology, we're talking about industry, commercial real estate, and all of the great things that happen with this industry. So think about it for a minute, right? And tell me, what do you think we need to do? What is the one skill set or two skills that you need to have in order to succeed? So let's think. Here we go. Okay, time's up, time's up, time's up. And so for those of you who guessed it, here it is. The biggest skill we need to develop is the skill of adapting to change. How do we build the capacity to adapt to change? You can't fight change. You can't oppose change, because change is like this giant river. It's like an iceberg. It's like a glacier that keeps on moving. You've got to find a way to adapt to it and use it to your benefit. And that's the greatest skill you can develop. If I can just tell you one thing in this session, and that is it. Find a way to adapt to change. So it's an undisputed fact that organizations that are future ready thrive in any environment. And you see that success everywhere from successful organizations around you. And these are organizations that not just have a formula or a great product or a great solution, but these are organizations that are future ready. They know what to anticipate and they work towards it. So keep that in perspective. Now let's talk about where are people headed? Where are things headed personally for us? Where are careers headed? So the creative industry is evolving. Healthcare is evolving. Sales, manufacturing, travel, transportation, e-commerce, retail, legal, accounting, everything is changing. Every profession out there is changing, including yours, right? And many of these roles that I have here are overlay on top of what you guys do, right? In the commercial real estate industry. You just don't, work on buildings all day long. There's people who work in sales. There's people who are creative in your industry. There's people who are in e-commerce within the industry. And so in legal, in accounting. And so the role of everybody is changing because of how things are headed. Now I'll talk about a little bit more about those things in detail in the next few minutes. But in terms of technology, what else is changing and what is trending? Of course, the big buzzwords. Artificial intelligence will change the world like we have never seen before. In some industries, we don't know what their profession will be. As an example, banking, accounting, it's hard to predict what the role of these professionals will be in the next 10 plus years. We have blockchain technology. We have the metaverse that's really hot right now. Big data, mobility, Internet of Things. There are many, many other things that can be potentially changing the world. But these are all trending things. These are all things that are important, whether you call them mega shifts, you call them mega trends, permanent trends. This is what is happening out there. I want to point some things out to you, some things that have happened in the last, say, 6 months. What has happened in the last 6 months that has caught my attention, that I believe are things that impact everybody, all of us, whatever your profession is, whatever your industry is, whatever your role is, it impacts you. And here it is. It's a fun countdown of things that have happened in the last 6 months. So here we go. The first one is the billionaire space race, right? Billionaires are going to space, and we're all talking about why are they going to space? Should they go to space? Do they deserve to go to space? And I've been part of so many discussions where people are asking about that billionaires should not go to space, right? Jeff Bezos should not be going to space because he's become a billionaire because of all the money he's made, because of what people ordered from Amazon and so on. There's many ridiculous things out there. And so that is happening, right? Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos are all competing to be part of this new frontier called the space race. So that is happening. I'm not going to share opinions on it, but it's a fact that, hey guys, pay attention to this thing that is happening out there in the world. That's super interesting. Okay. Apple also launched a new iPhone. Now this is interesting because of what happened in China. Apple manufactures a lot of phones in China, a majority of them, and they had a few hiccups because China had to stop production of phones because China wanted to cut down on carbon emissions. So they imposed some restrictions on factories in China on production. And they said you cannot be operating 24 hours a day. You've got to cut your timings down. And that is an indicator of how things are working globally, what ripple effect things have when they happen in China, as an example, or some other country. And things like the energy crises, the climate crises is happening everywhere. And Apple and many other companies are all very responsible organizations, but they are big tech, and things are changing in different aspects of the world. So this impacts all of us in some way or the other. We also had the evolution and the delivery of vaccine passports, right? Huge opposition from some groups about inclusivity, about being able to track data and whatnot. But this is something that has a real impact on the workplace, right? We are seeing this in Canada happen in Canada. Right now, I'm in Toronto myself, and we see the impact that vaccine passports are having. It's helping open up the economy, but then we also have to give up some freedoms. But then if there is enough dialogue and good information about the facts around the vaccine passports, I think people are now accepting them in a better way, because now the world is opening up a little bit. So big development, and I think this has been a big giant step that we've taken towards getting back to the normal that we want. Okay. Also in other developments, Facebook, the company that's now called Meta, launched something called called Ray-Ban Stories. Actually, they partnered up with Ray-Ban, the glasses company, and they launched these new new sunglasses that have a camera embedded in them, and now you can constantly record what's happening in front of you and make it part of your Facebook feed and do all of those things. Now they're also calling them Ray-Ban stories and not Facebook stories. The question is, why? Does Facebook have a brand problem? That's part number one. And there's other discussions, but the question that I want to talk about, the point that I want to drive is that this is a major and significant development, because after this, Facebook also went and announced the fact that it's investing heavily into the metaverse. And so my direction that I want to point you into is that social media is now changing the way it was. Demographics are changing. Now it's becoming more immersive in terms of environments. And how about one of these glasses will be used in the commercial real estate industry tomorrow to do one of the many things that you guys do, whether it's remote meetings, showings, buildings, what have you. These devices will make an entry into mainstream business. And just like HoloLens that Microsoft has, devices such as these glasses will definitely come into play in the industry that you're in. So, but there's still ways to go. But this is important. I want you to pay attention to things like this. We also have something called blockchain. Blockchain has been out there for many years. It's slowly becoming something noticeable, and companies are investing in this technology because of all the trust factor that it brings in. And it's changing things because of the introduction of newer aspects and newer elements. One of them being DeFi, or distributed or decentralized finance. It's changing the way finance works. And that impacts everybody. That impacts industries, it impacts consumers, and potentially maybe in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, DeFi will impact what you're doing in the commercial real estate industry, because you'll end up using some system, platform, or process that is not a mainstream bank process or a system or a technology, but it interfaces with something else that's blockchain driven. So that will happen. It's just taking its time, but it is slowly becoming kind of a standard thing where banks are really taking blockchain seriously. So something to pay attention to, something to keep your pulse on, your hands on the pulse. We also have cryptocurrencies that have been evolving. The US recently allowed an ETF to be connected with crypto. And on the other hand, China has banned cryptocurrency miners in China. They've kicked them off. And so there's many things that are happening in cryptocurrency. Of course, in addition to the record prices that Bitcoin has hit, there are many other interesting developments. I recently had the pleasure of launching a new documentary film called The Bitcoin Dilemma, and it's available on YouTube. You can watch it, just Google it, or search for it on YouTube, called The Bitcoin Dilemma. And it's all about the evolution of cryptocurrency. I highly recommend that you watch it and try and understand the overall picture of what's happening with cryptocurrencies. So crypto, definitely, my question is, do you think your stakeholders and vendors and buildings and providers in the future are going to start accepting cryptocurrencies as a form of payment? What about bank-created cryptocurrencies and tokens? Is that possible? What about here in Canada, where the biggest banks are investing heavily into blockchain technology? Will they do something about it? Interesting things to note, and something to keep yourself informed with. Now, who amongst you has heard about non-fungible tokens, or NFTs? And so NFTs are making big news because apparently these digital art things are going for millions on auctions, right? Christie's has had a few auctions where NFT art or non-fungible token related artwork, digital art, has sold for more than $65 million a piece. And so the question becomes, what is this that is creating such an impact, and why are people going towards this hype? You will find some answers in the Bitcoin Dilemma documentary, but I really believe we all need to start understanding what NFTs are, what crypto is, what blockchain is, what AI is, and get informed and start informing ourselves on it. So instead of entertainment news, just go and read a little bit about these technologies on an everyday basis. I feel NFTs have a place in industry, not just the commercial real estate industry, but industry in general. And so the evolution of that is at a very early stage right now, and I think there's going to be much more that's going to happen purely based on what I see in terms of adoption from professional soccer teams, professional leagues, companies, enterprises, and what have you. So a space that I'm specifically very interested in watching. We also have a phenomenon happening called the Great Resignation. Right now, millions of people are resigning from their jobs, not going back to their jobs and saying, hey, I've had enough, Mr. Employer or Mrs. Employer or Miss Employer or dear employer, and I do not want to come back to this workplace that does not treat me right, that does not respect me, that doesn't have the right growth opportunities for me, that is not letting me work remote, and many, many other reasons. And so for that reason, the Great Resignation revolution is underway right now. Millions upon millions of people are not going back to work. The question is, does that impact your industry? And what is the role of remote work in your industry? How far are we in terms of getting there and perfecting that model, right? In the last 2 years, of course, remote work has been a really predominant way to work in industries where physical manual work was not required. But now, where is that headed? And I feel this is going to be a big thing, a big change that'll impact many industries, including the commercial real estate industry, the real estate industry in general. Now, the pandemic has had many different kinds of explosions that have happened, whether it's the healthcare explosion, work from home, education, customer service, security, finance, many different things have just exploded in terms of development. And so there's many interesting things that actually came out of the pandemic. So let's talk about maybe some technology mega trends that I feel are going to impact your industry the most. So here we are. Number one, we have algorithms. The algorithmic economy is going to change everything. Algorithms are driving smart cars. They are changing the way we interact with everyday objects, including Alexa and Siri at home, but also intelligent buildings will run on algorithms. And if not algorithms, then nothing else can do the things that algorithms do. So heavy emphasis on algorithms because they connect a lot of different things. So I believe algorithms will change the way buildings of the future will work. Number two is convergence, the convergence of the Internet of Things with artificial intelligence, with blockchain technology, with cloud technology. Everything needs to come together somehow, right? How will the buildings of the future interact with the automobiles of the future? How will wearables interact with commercial real estate and all of that? So the convergence of things is really important, that needs to be paid attention to. Decentralization is the entire blockchain-led revolution that includes cryptocurrency, includes NFTs, includes tokenization, and the way things are going, especially in some parts of the world, there's a lot of standardization of and regulation coming into effect when it comes to cryptocurrencies, when it comes to digital money. And so I see the element of decentralization stabilizing a little bit and impacting different industries in a positive way. So please pay attention to decentralization in general and see how does it impact what you guys do. There's also the trend of things becoming experiential. What experiences do things have on people? What is the experience that a certain building creates? What is the experience that a certain type of a community, when it's built, creates? And so that experience delivery is important right from the design stage of things. And it's not something that happens in the end, but it has to happen right from the creation manifestation phase. And so buildings of the future will be experiential. Those are the buildings that will be preferred by people because they create that environment and atmosphere where people will thrive, feel happier, feel better, rather than cold real estate. So experiential is the way to go when it comes to design. Mobility, of course, mobile devices are everywhere, and they're becoming incredibly powerful day by day. Before they start changing form factor and before they start becoming smaller, because that's the that's the ultimate future of those devices. They'll start shrinking in their size and become extremely small. There's also the element of how much information is available on mobile devices. Is everything available on mobile devices? I don't think so. I think we're still going towards opening up data sets, opening up knowledge repositories to be available in different places. So I feel mobility has still ways to go in many parts of the world. And so data, technology, it's all leading to things being intuitive, that we can control from our mobile phone, or information being mobile and being created and related through mobile. So that's definitely a trend to watch. I covered, the next one is tokenization, and tokenization is similar to decentralization, but tokenization is a little bit more specialized area of blockchain where things can be broken down into different pieces and then sold or rented. I feel that tokenization could have an impact on the commercial real estate industry maybe 10 plus years down the line. It's not happening right now. And if at all, it might impact how people rent commercial spaces, how commercial spaces are leased out, and what models and what systems and mechanisms are used by different stakeholders within the industry. So tokenization is something that I'm going to watch out for sure. Now, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that this whole evolving future demands something different. It demands a different type of leadership. The future demands impeccable self-leadership, but it demands it today, not tomorrow. And I feel, and I really believe, we have to start behaving differently, leading differently if you want to succeed in the future, because otherwise it's too late. I always talk about the future readiness framework, and this is something that we practice, we teach, and consult with our clients. But I'm going to share some insights from the future readiness framework that'll help you progress and get where you need to be. So number one, what is in the future readiness framework? Number one is that the world is changing, the way we engage is changing, the way we deliver experiences is changing, the way we express ourselves is changing. And so for organizations and individuals to be successful in the future and to have impact, you have to change the way you engage. You have to communicate in a different way. You have to sell in a different way. You have to lead in an entirely different way than what you've been doing so far, because the future is different. It's heavily data dependent. People are glued to their devices. There's less human interaction. And so how do you penetrate through that and deliver value? And for that, you've got to master engagement, experiences, and the expression of that. Number two, you have to become a lifelong learner. As an organization, as an individual, you have to start learning things right now. If you've stopped learning things that are beyond your job and beyond your role, then it's time to go back to the drawing board and pay attention and become a learning organization, become a leader who helps other people learn and your team members learn, and be an individual who's hungry to learn new things and new ideas and new concepts. And so to get you started, here are some books, here are some resources you can read and get going in terms of understanding the importance of learning and how to learn, right? Many books, recommendations are also available on my website. Just go to my website, find the link for books, and you'll see a lot of different resources and books available that you can read. Okay, next one up is people. People are so important for any business, any organization, association, city, municipality, what have you, that they shouldn't really be undermined. And I wish we were living in an era where everything was just really beautiful and nice and rosy, but it's not. We still have improvements to make. And we saw this happen during the pandemic, the amount of change people are going through. I spoke about the Great Resignation just a few minutes ago, about what is happening in the world, and people are resigning. And so people need to be respected more. People need to be given equality. People need to be treated well, paid well, and all of that needs to happen within an organization because people are at the core of success. If you're not focused on people as an organization, there's definitely something wrong. Here are some resources for you to get started when it comes to people, when it comes to building teams, when it comes to getting people to be successful, changing things over at work. There are plenty of resources available out there, folks. And please start paying attention to people, no matter what the role is that you're playing. Next one up is creating a cadence of accountability. How do you create an organization that's more accountable? And why should you create accountability? Well, because accountability really, really helps. There are many surveys, a lot of data available on how businesses succeed because of what they embed in the organization through accountability, how people and organizations succeed when they are more accountable. So I really believe it's a fundamental pillar of success is to create accountability in your organization and to foster it and to grow people to get them to be more accountable in a positive way. And lots of resources available that you can read. I got a huge reading list for you. So that this is the real task. It's starting right now, right? Is how do you get accountability going? Read one or more of these books to get going. The next one up is culture. And culture is beyond having a foosball table. It's beyond having a free coffee or free snacks available at work. But culture is really about changing the DNA of the organization. There are many surveys. Deloitte says that 88% of employees believe a strong company culture is key to business success. Randstad says that 58% of employees would stay at a lower paying job if it meant working for a great boss, and so on and so forth. People are looking for a culture fit. They're more than the salary, more than anything else, employees today are looking for a culture fit. And so if the industry needs a culture adjustment, then it does need that, right? And many industries out there have a very traditional culture, have a very structured but not conducive culture, and that needs to change. I really believe there's an opportunity to do that. And as a leader, if you're someone who can change things, then get going. So read some of these books. Again, Culture Code, The Advantage, Good to Great, Radical Candor. There's so many books out there you could read that'll help you change the culture of your organization. So you've got to make the right step in the right direction. Next one up is changing the mindset of the organization. And how do you do that? And mindset is all about collaborating. I feel collaboration and mindset go hand in hand, right? Back in the day, we used to have people and leaders who wanted to do everything on their own, but you can't do that anymore. You have to work with others. You have to foster and create collaborative opportunities to be able to do things with other people. Today, if you want to be successful, you have to collaborate. And if you're not collaborating and partnering with other people, the chances of you succeeding are slim to none. And that's literally it. That's how it is. So collaboration helps with employee productivity. It helps with what business areas that you can work on, what opportunities you see, new ventures, so on and so forth. So here's your list of reading for collaboration and what you can do right now by changing the way how you collaborate. And last but not least, friends, is execution. Because without execution, any plan that we build can fail. And execution is just such a must. Implementing the things that you said you would, doing the things that you said you would do is execution. And many stats, a lot of information available on how you can execute, why you should execute, where you should execute, what are the best practices to execute. You want resources, go to my website, and on the book section, you'll find some really nice, incredible books about execution, the Blue Ocean Strategy, and so many others. So you have to start learning. You've got to go back to the drawing board and relearn, unlearn, relearn, unlearn and relearn because we gather a lot of dust over years and gather bad habits. Quite honestly, that's the only way to say it. But we can change it by overwriting on top of it. And that's really it, folks. I mean, I know you're going to have an incredible conference over the next couple of, today at least, and through NXTEK 2021. I know BOMA Toronto is going to do an incredible job in, giving you the right content, and there'll be a lot of different discussions happening. And so please pay attention to all of them. But remember, you have to take action on things, and many of those you can't because they're beyond your domain. But everything I've shared today, 99% of that is in your domain. You can take action on all of those things that I said you can, especially the last 7 things that I shared. And so take action, be proactive, do something about it, change your life by doing those things. And you know what? The industry will do what it needs to do. If all of us just did the things we had to do, wouldn't everything work so well? And wouldn't everything become so incredibly better? That's all, folks. I hope you have an incredible conference. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm happy to take questions. I'm taking questions right now. So type your question down under, tell me what you need to know, and I'm more than happy to take any question that you have through this session about my content or emerging technology areas or leadership, what have you, and I'll do my best to answer that. So put your questions down under on your app. If you're logged into the app online, do that, but log into EventMobi and you can put down your questions and ask me anything. So thank you so much. Until next time, it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve you. You take care, friends. My name is Ian Khan. Do visit my website, iankhan.com. You take care.